Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Because now I know when something happens in our lives that is unexpected, you have to go into it in order to ever have any hope of coming through it. So when you go, guess what? When you come out the other side, you grow.
Brought out more in me than I thought that I didn't even know that I had.
That has given all of us a great hope for what we can do with our own messages, our abilities to deliver, but most importantly, to deliver it in an authentic and very, very intriguing way.
Have you ever been in something or felt something where the only way you felt you could deal with it was to leave, get away? I thought that was the meaning of control. It took me 4.5 years to stop looking around the room of my life, of my journey, of my purpose, digging in cushions for a remote that never existed.
Looking, re-looking, going back and upgrading, bringing in and pulling out. Things that do not serve you must go.
Those things out in this world that are designed to bring us down, to keep us down, put their foot on our neck and whisper to us that we're never good enough, they don't whisper. They yell at us from all directions, top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner, 365 days. When somebody asks you about yourself, don't you dare whisper. When they ask you to raise your hand, don't you dare half raise it. When they ask you something good about you, you scream it with all you have. Come on now, get up, get up. Tell me who you are. Show me who you are.
Greatest truth of all, that not everyone has to remain lost.
feeling some kind of way today. Let me tell you something. It hit me. It hit me during the opening. Because I was like, I don't have much energy. Look at my eyes. 2 hours sleep. That's what I had. 2 hours of sleep because I had. Remember, I told you guys. I remember back on my birthday, 4th of July, we were up at the lake house and I had that little episode where I kind of like stood up too fast and boom, passed out and had looked like a seizure, but it wasn't. And so I went to the what do you call that? The neurologist guy, and he goes, no, did all these tests. Nope, I think you just had oxygen deprivation, standing up too fast. But what are you okay with seeing the next step just to make sure? So that EEG is one thing. And then and you have to be sleep deprived. I guess you're in a tube for 90 minutes. So I hope they got some music or something I can listen to. But I'll probably fall asleep because, man, I used to go to bed at 9, so I had to go to bed at midnight. Then I used to get up at 4, and I had to get up at 2. Right. But I went to the gym. Thank you, Jesus. And I'm here. You guys, it just pours through me. That's the thing about purpose. You know what I'm saying? You can be broke, but inside you feel rich. You can be tired, and inside you feel energized. Your spirit can be trying to crack, but you can feel it being mended all at the same time. You know what I'm talking about. You've been there. You know people that you've helped get there. Let me hear it. Can I get an amen? Yes. So, and why is it so important that we remind each other? Because these are our superpowers. If we did not have those, imagine. We get tricked as it is by those things that do not serve us. But you know what? And it's Halloween month. So trick or treat. It's like this. You guys, we have not ever lived anything that was not intended to make us seek becoming our best selves, our divine selves. And so I just want you to be encouraged today, this morning. Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo is here as always. Say good morning to Lucy. And also that was the bell of purpose. I just want to get this out there. It's not just a prop. It's not just some kind of gimmick. It's an opportunity. It is a reminder that just like when we hear that bell ring, it has a tone to it. It has a ring to it, and so does the truth. So just remember, listen for that tone in all you do, and in all people you do things with and through. Make sure that the ring of truth is resonating, especially in the front row seats of your life. Make sure that the people that sit in those seats are healthy enough to be there. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Great show today. Great show today. We have, I believe, first-time author. Shake your head. I can see you back there, Steve. First-time author, Steve McAllister is here. And you guys know Misty Lane. I believe she's in charge. She put this anthology together. And Steve is one of the contributors. And so his chapter, his contribution to this work is entitled Surviving the Storm. And boy, how many of us can relate to that one? Right? Amen. Amen. So I wanted, before I get Steve in here, speaking, because this is all about bullying today. And I was going to ask you guys about pet peeves. Do you have a pet peeve? If so, put it in the comments. I realized on the way home from the health club this morning, I have a pet peeve. Another one. I mean, there's a plenty. But, well, not really. Less than 5, more than 2. The new one that surfaced today was I experienced a car bully. In the first, it just kept going from like we're going the speed limit, even like 3 or 4. It's in a school zone, right? We all live around here. This guy should have got up earlier, clearly, to get to work. And he's like riding everybody's ass from one lane to the next. I was so glad nobody sped up. You know how they can force you to speed up? And, like you're guilty. And I look at my odometer, and not odometer, it was the speed thing. Is that an odometer? Or is that the one that takes them on? I don't know. The thing with the speed on it. And I'm like, you're not going to force me into breaking the law any further than I already am. So anyway, that's mine. Car bullies. Be gone. So you got to watch that kind of stuff from this side of the table. You don't want to end up having, what's that thing in the 80s? People used to get mad and get out of their cars with baseball bats. Road rage. Boy, what a world, right? That is why the healing is mandatory. Steve is going to tell us about his healing experience today. He's here for the first time. I'm not even going to go to the bio. What I am going to do is read this and then bring Steve in. Here's the first paragraph of Steve McAllister's story entitled Surviving the Storm. He says, I was born into a Christian family and raised in church. One would think a kid growing up in a good Christian home wouldn't have many issues, right? My life revolved around bullying, and I am sharing my story in hopes of bringing education and awareness to others to understand the emotional roller coaster it can cause. I had fun at times in my childhood, and other times were absolute misery. I felt like there was no escape. I was being picked on at church, home, and school. It all made me so unhappy. After so much negativity from all my environments, I began believing I wasn't worthy of normal love. Bullying alone is a hard battle to overcome, but when it comes from your own family, the ones that are supposed to support you and protect you, you feel alone and isolated. My dad was a bully, and I would experience the same treatment all day at school, only to go home and have him treat me the same way. How do we forgive our own father for our destruction? The answer is by accepting and forgiving and trusting in the Lord with all our might. I am an overcomer, and it is time I stop hiding behind my past and take action to step up and speak out so my story today can change a life tomorrow. How wonderful is that? Put some virtual hearts on the screen, won't you please? That's our way of applauding as we welcome first-time author, first-time person to come on from, I forget where you're at. Missouri? I think he's in Missouri. We're glad you're here, you guys. Welcome as he comes out. Steve McAllister, here he comes. Oh.
Good morning.
Hi, Steve.
Hello there.
I just flipped over to the second page and the word blood jumped out around 5 times. So I'm going to flip page 1 over because we're going to go into page 2 in a bit. Welcome to Bathrobe Moments, Steve. How you feeling today?
I'm doing good. I really am. And it's speedometer.
Spit out. Now, how do you get that out of what? I'm kidding. Speedometer. Thank you. So,
You're welcome.
First
And
time.
it's Branson, Missouri.
Branson. Yeah, that's a tourist spot.
Yes, it is.
The Osmonds, didn't they?
Yes.
Used to practically own that place.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Wow. So, Steve, let's get right to it. This contribution to the book. What's the name of the book? The whole book.
The Speak Up and Speak Out.
Oh, Misty's brand name.
Yes.
Okay. So, what went through your mind when you heard of this opportunity?
Well, Misty and I had a conversation when she was here in Branson last year. And so she said, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And so I told her just one of the stories that's actually in the book or in the chapter. And she's like, you've got to speak up and speak out your story. In fact, I'm putting together a book and I would love for you to tell us your story. So that's what happened.
How many kids in your family, Steve?
There's 4 altogether, but my brother passed away about 3 years ago, so there's just 3 of us left.
So in the story, back at the front end, there were
right.
5 of you total.
Yes.
So where were you in that pecking order?
I'm the baby.
You're the baby. So let's talk about the abuse. Was it just commonplace in your house Did everybody come home with their own story of, yeah, well, look, I got my own shit?
Yes. Yes. And my dad picked on all of us, actually. I was the one that had the brunt of it, the worst of it, but everybody had their own story with my dad, he wasn't speaking to them for a few years, and so he did that to everybody, basically. But I was the one.
Why do you think you got the brunt of it?
Because I was the baby, I was the last one there, and as the older that he got, he thought by the older he got, he didn't want to put up with a lot of things. So I was the one that he took a lot of things out on.
Okay.
As he got older.
Okay. So I've got the chapter here, and we're going to refer to it from time to time as we move through the interview. But first, I wanted to say today, I always like to approach, a direction of the story. We all know about bullying. Many of us have experienced it. A few of us have been responsible for it. And so it's not an uncommon conversation, but it should never become a passé conversation. So in order to keep it alive and fresh and interesting, I like to tackle it from some areas that sometimes might get missed. So today, if we could, I want to go back and forth, but mainly put an extra little light on the outcome of childhood bullying, how it shows up in our adult lives. Some people become bullies. Some people, there's all kinds of different ways, and we're going to hear from you today, and I want to hear from you today as well, and I'll chime in from time to time. So let's look at a clip to kind of set it up, because I love the way kids speak their mind. That's a thing that I wish more of us would not lose sight of. Hold on tight too as we grow into our journeys. So let me pull that one up. Okay. They changed the wording down here on some of the stuff. It used to be called just share screen. Now it's called present. That's like speedometer. What were they thinking? So anyway,
exactly.
I'm kidding. I just want to make sure I get this right. So this piece again is bullying awareness. And I love it because out of the mouths of babes, take a look.
Bullies don't care about the word respect.
Well, I think bullies maybe have a lack of understanding about what respect means.
I still remember in kindergarten, the first day I got picked on the first day of school. And I never wanted to go back because I thought school would be a fun place to learn and play and make friends.
It's not cool that you bully someone, but how would you feel if you got bullied?
Well, I think more and more we see bullying and different types of bullying. You're starting to see a lot of the cyberbullying happening, which is sad because, in the old days, bullying used to stop when you left school or left a team. Now it's just constant.
Bullying shouldn't happen. Like, why would you pick on someone for fun? Like, why would you make someone go home and not feel like they want to care about themselves anymore?
No one wants to be placed as a label. You don't want to be a one-word name. You don't want to be like a jock or a geek. You don't want to be that. You want to be who you are.
That bullied person, there's always that little voice that remains inside of you.
Words stick forever. They don't go away.
Wow. Ooh, I had to turn that off.
Yes.
To get to me. Wow, that was from Canada, clearly. But just like love is a universal language, so is pain. And we don't remind each other of that enough. So, Steve, tell me, because, we're talking a lot about today the effects on the adult from childhood bullying. But one of the effects is triggers. What, if any, of those words felt evoked some type of a trigger feeling in you, or just seeing children say those things? Because I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I went through all that. I went through a sad, I went through a mad. I just didn't understand. I was more mad because I didn't understand why I was getting bullied at school and then coming home and having my dad treat me the same way. That was the mad part. But there's some sad part in there too. But it just I didn't want to take it out on anybody because what would happen, I was being bullied. It doesn't make sense for me to do this, turn around and do the same thing. So I was sad in the way that I got picked on at recess time, just like that girl said. I thought I was going to go to school in kindergarten. I thought I was going to go to school and have fun and make friends. Well, that was the opposite with me.
Wait a minute. Kindergarten.
So, yeah, kindergarten, and then just little kids, when they pick on you, that's one thing. But then as I got into first, second, and third grade, it continued and got harder. And so I started breaking down and not doing well in school as far as grades. I was doing A's and B's and went to D's. And so, and I was chewing pencils. Believe it or not, my mom reminded me and told me I would chew my pencils down to the lead. I was that nervous. I didn't want to go outside for recess.
Steve, why do you think at such an early age, certain children, because I believe they like get jumped in, where there's a group. Okay, if I don't jump in, then I could be next. I don't want to pick on me. But what do you think it was about you that put a target, so to speak, on your back, and then take that piece and just go right into, did you ever look around at the people that were supposed to keep you safe, the teachers, the lunch lady, the bus driver, wherever, the neighbors, your mother? Like, isn't somebody supposed to stop this? Talk about what that was like for you, a typical day.
Well, first of all, we did have room mothers in our room when we were real young, like kindergarten, first, second grade, and it was hidden. Actually, a lot of the teachers and a lot of the room mothers, they didn't know it was actually going on, and I was to the point where I was scared to say anything because of everything that was going on in the morning or at lunch or when outside for recess. It was just like a scare tactic. You better not say anything or else. And so, but the teachers, they hid it from the teachers, so they never really picked up on it. So that's why I didn't get the help immediately until I was brave enough to say something. Oh, they're just kids, they're going to pick on you, until I actually got hurt one time in recess. And I came back in and I talked to the principal about it. And I said, this is it, So the lady or the principal ended up calling my parents. And so there was a PTA meeting about it. And so it just, it exploded from there. It really did. And then when my dad hit it real well, so then when I would go home, then I would hear it from him. What did you do to influence these kids to pick on you? And I'm like, nothing. I didn't do anything.
So, in other words, you must have been asking for it.
Right, in so many ways.
Yeah. But he wouldn't get it, though. Most likely. Why? Because he's on the side of the bullier.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that. But let me ask you, your dad, do you think was there abuse from his father or someone in his family?
That's a good question, because we were trying to figure that out, and we don't know if it was abuse, because his dad drank a lot. And then I found out later on after he passed that he drank, and I'm like, what? So I'm finding all this information about my dad after he passed.
You didn't know your dad drank?
No.
So what? He
I,
picked it up later in life.
yeah, he was. He had. In fact, it's a long story. I won't go into it, but he was when my dad had passed. My mom, she just before she got really sick with dementia, she told me. She said, "You know, your dad was married twice before," and I'm like, "What?" I was like, "That was a news flash." And so when she told me that, she said, "I've kept it from you, you kids, all these years, and we're talking about 61 years of not telling anybody that
Well,
he'd been married for twice before."
and there again is another layer, secrecy. What happens in this house stays in this house, all of that kind of stuff. And then there's things that happen that we don't even know about. So then we like, do we even really know this person or these people? So listen, here's a little example, you guys, from Steve's story. And this is different. This is kind of odd because I feel like I'm picking on your dad by setting up, getting ready to read it. But I'm
It's
like,
okay.
I'm always like this. If you don't want people to know about something, then don't do it.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, because a lot of people, Stephen, this is a big point. We should talk about this right here. A lot of y'all, a lot of us, I include myself, there's things I won't talk about yet. Scabs, we just aren't ready to pick. Take your choice of phrasing. And a lot of the times it's either out of, we don't want to disparage the deceased memory or something, or piss off people in the family. How you going to talk about grandpa like that, or whatever the case may be? But that's why generational cycles never get broken, because of the silence. So think about that, people. Excuse me. So here we go. Boy. Oof. The bullying from my dad was just nitpicking everything I did with disapproval. He complained about the way I pulled weeds from the garden or not having straight enough lines mowing the yard. Honestly, I felt accomplished and worthy just doing my chores, but it was never good enough for him. After a while, this type of constant beating down wore on me, and I became even more recluse than before. My siblings were experiencing his wrath as well. In one instance, when he became mad at my sister, he stopped talking to her and expected my mom and us siblings to also cut her off. However, I needed to speak to her, and my dad was listening on the outside garage phone line. He was sharpening lawnmower blades and rushed into the house and took a chunk out of our door with the blade. He then grabbed the phone and threw it across the room. He was sharpening lawnmower blades at the time. Next thing I know, my dad, in a fit of rage, comes busting through the door with that blade in his hand and took a chunk out of the door. He grabbed the phone. Wait, it just had repeated twice. Okay, so clearly tell your the people that, what's it called, the editor or publisher?
Yes.
They got this in there twice.
Okay. I didn't catch it when I read it.
I know you didn't get it because you're in your own story. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here it goes. He threatened me and proceeded to hit me and told me not to put my hand behind my back as he was hitting me with the blade. Because you're protecting yourself.
Yes.
Automatically, out of instinct, I did, and he whacked me with the sharp blade. My hands were wet, and as I pulled my palms around to the front, I saw he had sliced my hand and blood was everywhere. I screamed with pain and fear as well, due to the amount of blood. I thought he had chopped my hand off. Trauma. He actually told me, "Well, I told you not to put your hands behind your back." There was no remorse from him, and he was cold and stone-faced. After he left the room, I ran to my room. I ran to my mom, and she went crazy. I thought for sure that this would be the thing that could finally get my dad arrested for child abuse. But my mom pleaded against reporting it due to the financial strain his absence would cause. Therefore, he got away with it, and many other things through the years. This was just one account of the traumatic events that took place with my dad and his anger and the rages. Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. A lot of people I've spoken with, interviewed, just had conversations with, Steve, report that oftentimes in families where the silence is sealed within the walls of the home, that there's a routine. When something like that happens, mom makes pancakes for dinner, or the family goes on a picnic, or they do something to kind of make it seem like, but this is how we love ourselves. See, look, we're back to normal. Was there anything? What happens? We all know when we're in those situations and there's a big fight or an argument, somebody rushes out or somebody gets the dog shit slapped out of them, where everybody's like, there's an elephant in the room. Nobody knows what to say, but then they say in homes where abuse is usual, it's a moment and then, okay, who wants to play Monopoly? What was that like right after this sort of thing would happen? Would your dad leave and then come back in a day or two? Or did your mom threaten, I'm taking the kids, that's it? What was it like?
It was somber. My dad would, after that actual incident that happened, he did storm back out, and I can't remember exactly what happened with the lawnmower blade. Whether that's not the point. The point is he kind of left like nothing happened, and he didn't leave to go anywhere. He just left the room and was stone cold and went outside for a minute. I don't know if he was cooling off or whatever, but he just, when my mom was sobbing, like she's sobbing and going on and on, really got after my dad about it and said, how could you do that to your child, your own child? Why did so it wasn't a fight. She was just more upset with him, and he just stood there stone cold, is what my dad or what my mom told me. He just, with no blank, it was like a blank stare.
Well, it's probably a good thing he wasn't drinking.
Right.
He was like, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. He'd stopped drinking at that point. That's why I didn't know he drank. He stopped drinking before he married my mom. So,
Steve, did your dad ever come back and apologize to you for any of this?
No, actually, he didn't.
Never?
No.
Is your dad still alive?
No, he passed back in 2006.
And even before passing, was this ever brought up?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about this chapter, because it starts with your dad, and I have a feeling it's a thread down the entire story. So what about people in your family? Let's talk to people out there that won't tell their stories of abuse and whatnot. Even though and also let's talk about how people think that they left it back there, when we all know, most of us should anyway, trauma unattended grows right along with us. So let's talk about that. What things today, let me start there. Let's go to this one. What things today do you see in your life as challenges as a result of all this bullying? How has it shown up or manifested in your adult life?
Well, back in 1987, I joined the Navy. And of course, at that time, I thought something was wrong anyway, but they went ahead and passed me through. That long story short there. But I was having a lot of difficulty marching, and I'd always had a problem walking anyway. And so what came out is one day I was, I guess there was 29 of us who were being told we needed to step out. They wanted to do it like a drug test type thing with canine dogs. Well, these canine dogs, whenever they would come and step on your toe during this lineup that we all did, we'd have to step forward. And that meant that there was some sort of drug that was in me or whatever. And so they would drug me through, or drag me through 8 hours of, when did you start when did you start using drugs? And I'm like, I never did. And so in that, with the dog, when that dog looked at me and tapped his foot, I saw my dad's face. And I saw him snarling and growling and foaming at the mouth. That's all I saw. And I was scared to death. And so from that point on, in my adult life, I was scared to death of German Shepherds. Never wanted to go near them, and they were cute. I mean, they didn't harm me at all.
Wait. Why did the dog signal you out if you didn't have drugs in you?
Well, I guess the dog did that to 29 of us, and only 2 people ended up being had drugs on them and in their locker, and 29 of us had our foot or our paw or the dog's paw stepped on them. So I don't know what the reason was.
Yeah, that dog. They graduated that dog from drug sniffing school too soon. It should have been pumped a couple times. Okay,
right,
so,
correct.
Listen, we have to jump over to a quick commercial break, but when we return, we're going to get deeper into a little bit more about the effects of childhood bullying in our adult lives. Get ready with your own comments. I'm really interested in what you have to say. And I have a couple of things that I can say about how bullying has shown up during the course of my adult journey as well. We'll have that and more when we return. Great time to share out the broadcast. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hello, hello, hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? You know, seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started, one story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link.
Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. My guest today is Steve McAllister, first-time author, and he's contributed a chapter to Stand Up. What is it called again?
Speak Up and Speak Out.
Speak Up and Speak Out?
Yes.
I thought there was a stand in there somewhere. No?
No.
Okay. Speak up.
Speak out.
Tell us about when you heard about the opportunity to write this story. Was it a no-brainer? Was it automatic? Or did you have to think about it? What was it like, Steve, to decide to break the silence, so to speak?
It was like what Misty put in her book, A Silver Lining. There was a lot of dark clouds in my life. And because she approached me and how she approached me, she said, it's time to speak your story and don't be afraid. And I just automatically, I'm like, I've got to do something. It was a healing for me. And I told my sisters about it. And I told them, I said, I've got to write this because it's a healing for me. And they said, if it's going to do something positive for you and it's going to help others, then you've got our blessing. So
that's awesome.
I always wanted to make sure I wasn't, I was like, well, he's gone now. There's nothing holding me back from speaking about it. And I just know that there's others that have gone through similar things that I did, even in your young adult life, which I did. And so, and even through the Navy, that, by the way, as soon as he passed away, the face of that dog, or the face on a dog, disappeared. And me and the German Shepherds are just great friends.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, well, thank you for that, because we're definitely about to ring the bell on this next section. I can feel it coming. So you did have that barrier, if you will, of not wanting to tell the story because your dad was still among the living.
No, he had just passed away.
No, but I know he passed away and you decided to tell it.
Oh, right.
But you didn't while he was breathing.
Right.
What do you think
Correct.
that is? Why do you think we do that, Steve? Why do you think we feel some obligation to hold the truth back? Do you feel that that's in a sense letting the person off the hook, so to speak, or not,
Yeah.
almost like a disservice, because maybe if they knew this was coming, they would, if they could read it, maybe, through your lens, maybe that would give them that opportunity to heal through forgiveness or asking for it at least.
Right.
What do you say to all that? What do you say about that?
It was complicated, but I think that with me now, I forgave my dad, by the way, before he passed, and forgiveness is a big thing.
But
and
why did you not feel that you could say it out loud?
Fear
of
what how he might retaliate, even in my adult life with my wife Rachel still beside me, and how he would still manipulate me or try to. Manipulation and fear.
Let's talk about that, because that's mind control. That's all the end result of a lifelong grooming process. Intimidation, which is bullying. What do you guys think? Intimidating and bullying, are they one and the same? Steve, what do you think?
I think they have their own not definition, but I think you could call it intimidation and bullying. Intimidation starts and then it turns into bullying.
Because you're right. You're right. Because I remember I had one of my brothers, the one that just came back in my life after, he might be watching. Well, it's true. Just came back into my life after decades. He's the kind I remember when I was a little kid, because he was much older, never had to even say anything. You could catch his look across the sanctuary at church and know he was going to get you later. That looked like catch you doing something. That intimidation. Now the act itself, bullying. So I see how it could start with a look, a glance, a gesture.
Yes.
Even someone's routine can be intimidating. With the way they walk up the stairs, I've heard. You could tell that walk that he was coming to whoop somebody's ass, break somebody's nose. You could hear some people say they could tell by the gravel in the driveway when the car would come in, screeching to a halt. Here it comes. Here it comes. All these things. Steve, were you able to ever live without fear when you were growing up? Was there ever a time, other than when your dad was asleep, that you felt safe in your own home?
When he was at work.
So what was it like when it was time for him to come home? Was everybody looking at the clock like, damn?
Yeah, well, he even scared the neighborhood kids. I mean, the kids knew, my mom would always say, now, when that brown Chevy comes up the road, you need to make sure that that dad's coming home.
Right.
And people would, my friends would scatter like roaches when you turn on a light. And so they just took off. We'll see you later. Bye. Because they knew something was about to go down or something, especially if he had a bad day at work.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I got a question. Did you, because I'm looking at the clock. We got like 10 minutes, and I want to ask you a series of things. And there's another thing I want to read. And we got another clip to take a look at. Did you ever feel, who do you blame the most? Who do you feel let you down the most as a kid? Your mom, the neighbors who heard things and never said anything, the people at school. Who did you think was most responsible, if there was any one sector you could point to?
My dad.
Oh.
Now, when I say my dad, it's not that I was hurt that nobody else stood up I think they were scared, and I'm not talking about adults. I'm talking about other kids. They were scared to say anything or confront my dad.
people who are in charge of keeping us as children safe.
Right.
You're supposed to be able to go to adults and say, look, this isn't supposed to be happening. I mean, did you ever have bruises? Visible signs?
No, it was more like feelings. It was more like I was really nervous. I would chew my fingers, I would chew pencils, and they wanted to know what the deal was on that. So finally, they brought in a school psychologist to find out what was going on. And they said it's time for this young man to maybe move out of the school and go into special ed because I was not doing well in school anymore. I was nervous all the time. I was jittery. And so special ed didn't help because I was the smartest kid in that class.
Yeah.
So but I would break down in tests and stuff, and I would have a hard time putting tests together, not concentrating. So my concentration went to zero just about.
Okay. I found a little clip. It's about 2 minutes long. Let's take a look. A study, I don't even know where it was done, but the effects of childhood bullying, how it can last well into adulthood. So let's take a look at this real quick.
It turns out the effects of bullying can last a lifetime. That's the conclusion of a comprehensive study.
And as CBS News' Jessica Schneider tells us, if you've been bullied, it can affect everything from your social outlook to your earning power.
It seems like everyone has a story of being bullied.
Being short all my life, I endured, I should say better, harassment of a special kind, being my size.
Don Reese is still talking about the names he was called as a kid, and he agrees the hurtful effects are lasting.
That bullying has a tremendous impact on people, and it's one more hurdle for a teenage child or even a young child to overcome.
A new study that began by following all of the 7,771 children born in Britain during one particular week in 1958 and tracked them from ages 7 to 50 concludes the effects of bullying are still visible nearly 4 decades later.
You have something that happens in childhood that sticks with a person, and it really shapes how they view the world and how they view themselves, and that has a significant impact on their functioning.
The study shows the effects of bullying are wide-ranging. Social relationships may suffer, and people who were bullied as kids may even have a lower education level and earn less.
So you find an increased risk of depression, of anxiety, you find a lower educational status, you find people who are just not doing as well 40 years later in their adult life.
The decades-long study seems to quantify what many have long believed, that bullying takes a toll on more than childhood, and it can be permanently damaging.
You know, your world is small, and it's all about your peers and your friends, and if you feel like they're not supportive, it doesn't feel so good.
And it still hurts later in life.
Absolutely.
A sad reality that researchers hope will change the way bullying is viewed. Jessica Schneider, CBS 2 News.
Wow. So, after what we've heard there, Steve, before you took on the challenge and accepted it of writing your chapter in this book to break the silence and continue the healing, what things had you put in place to get you to that point? Did you ever go to therapy? How did you begin your healing process after the forgiveness piece?
Well, by the way, my wife just reminded me that he was a narcissist.
Well, of course. Most of them are.
And
not all.
Yes. Not all. But when I think part of that was just he wanted my mom all to himself, and the kids are my brother and sisters and myself. We were in the way of that.
Yeah.
So I guess anything that interrupted his life with my mom, he would blame it on us and then turn around and say, look what you're doing to your mother.
So what about your healing process?
The healing process is doing well. I think the first thing was when Misty approached me about doing this chapter, and that was the beginning of the healing process.
Oh, okay. So what are your hopes moving forward, Steve? What would you like? How would you like to see this play out as far as taking you to what is next for you in the healing process, and you're helping aiding other healing as well?
I'd like to educate, like going to classrooms or schools and churches, and tell my story, tell my testimony, and let people know that there is a hope, that they too can heal, but sometimes it's a lifetime. Sometimes it's just a short time. But I
Amen.
want to be able to educate and help people and tell my story, because you never know who's going through the same thing you are at currently.
Correct. Steve, do you ever go out and visit your dad's grave if there's a grave?
Well, I haven't, because I live in Branson, and I'm originally from Pontiac, Michigan.
Okay, no
And
problem.
so,
Michigan.
pardon?
I'm from Michigan.
Oh, really? Yeah, you're over there in Grand Rapids.
No.
Or
Benton Harbor, St. Joe.
Oh yeah, but that's the southwest part.
Yep, southwest. Yeah. I was born and raised in Bering Springs and Niles.
Oh.
And my birth mother in Benton Harbor, St. Joe. Yeah.
Well, I went to Waterford schools in Waterford, Michigan.
There you go. Hey, shout out to all of our Michiganders. So I want to read this last piece, the closing paragraph of your chapter, because I find it very inspiring. And I just think it's a great way to wrap this up today. So in conclusion, after all we've heard, here's something to take with you today, folks. Steve says, God has a plan for your life. If you're being bullied, he can heal you right now if you trust him. Seek out professional care if it's stopping you from moving forward in life, and confide in a trusted friend to help vent your anger and work through your emotions. This is vital to your healing and thriving through it. For me, my wife continues to be an instrumental part of my healing, and I am blessed to have her in my life. My dad passed away April 9th, 2006, and with his death, I felt some type of lifting as my life was finally coming back together. My sisters and I started speaking more often. My wife Rachel and I were the only members of the family still local, so we helped where we could in the care of my mom until her death in 2012. My relationship with Rachel has gotten stronger. She saw a different person while I struggled with my strained relationship with my dad. She too prayed for me. I was so confused and overwhelmed. The roughest part of my life was during the first few years of our marriage. I went into stress-induced seizures to cope, but Rachel stayed with me while I was out of sorts. Because of her love and support, we've been able to renew our vows on our 16th wedding anniversary, and we'll be sharing 25 years of marriage in 2023. So every storm has a silver lining. Go find yours. Great job, Steve.
Thank you.
So very proud of your work, your courage, and your vulnerability. It's a true blessing. Thank you so much for pouring this truth into the world for someone to heal through and grow through. If you want to learn more or keep the conversation going with Steve McAllister, scrolling on your screen is his email address. It is here also, and we will drop it into the comment section immediately upon the conclusion of today's broadcast. Use it, get to know Steve. Steve, blessings to you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep helping people, and we keep helping ourselves when we do that. I want to thank you so much, and thank Misty when you talk to her for sending you our way. Such a blessing. And say hello to your wonderful wife, Rachel. And for all of you out there, thank you for being here today. Tomorrow's a great day in the neighborhood. Our 4 experts are back for their monthly visit. Tim Chung, Tracy Randolph. Oh, goodness. That's been a long time coming. I wonder who that is. Okay. And Tim Chung Mindset Coach, the Oracle of Apollo. Cross your fingers. She's on the road somewhere still on that quest she's on. And, of course, badass Jamie Lane will be in the house. We want you here as well. So listen, let's do it again, shall we? God willing, I'll meet you out front on the front porch at 8 a.m. sharp so that we together can create another unique moment in time right here on Bathrobe Moments. Have a great day. Thanks so much, Steve. Thank you. God bless you. Keep doing it, man.
You're welcome.
Doing it. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul, and honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.